How we doing, everyone? This is a very interesting module here that we're going to get into. You guys had a cool set of questions. I do not have a big wind-up. There isn't a big lecture in front of this compared to some of the other modules. What I can say is this module has been shifting throughout the years. I used to call this retailing or omnichannel or digital channels, And I think really algorithms, which is what I started calling it within the last year, is probably the best fit. Because underlying every one of these articles is a conversation about an algorithm. So I'm going to hold that off there, and everything else that I want to say is definitely going to come out within the questions. Okay? So the first article, which if this didn't blow you away, I don't know what could blow you away. Short article, very powerful article. Many of you completely underestimated exactly the power of Pinterest. And this is before Pinterest was even the Pinterest that it is today. How can retailers best leverage reverse showrooming and prevent customers from showrooming? Okay. So this term showrooming is coming, if you think about this battle, we have physical retailers and we have digital retailers, right? It's the physical retailers that are complaining because they're not good enough to maintain customers. As soon as any competition showed up, all of a sudden they were losing sales and they're crying wolf. I tend to not have sympathy for people who are not bringing their A game and are complaining that their B game is no longer winning them games anymore. See what I mean? So I'm going to get into more detail as we go through the questions, but I'm going to lead that conversation with they should stop complaining and they should figure out how to loyalty, CRM, learn about who their customers are, find out what they want and give it to them, as opposed to everyone just shopping on pricing, which is what showrooming is. Because they're not offering anything else other than price. And if you don't have anything else other than price, I'm going to showroom. Right? All right, here we go. Do you think we'll ever see Pinterest partner with someone where you can buy the products where you're liking straight from the website? Yes, it happens now. This is exactly where Pinterest is going with their IPO. And to be direct, the best way to describe that, it's called affiliate marketing. Pinterest never takes inventory. They just get a sales commission for the sale. Because if someone pins something and someone goes to that pin and goes directly to a particular web page and then buys, Pinterest gets a sales commission. In the digital world, we call that affiliate marketing. It is a very good revenue source. When do you think we'll see companies try to pay for advertisements on Pinterest, if ever? They do it now. That is another revenue source for Pinterest. It's not a huge revenue source for Pinterest. Their main revenue source tends to be from the affiliate marketing. What defenses can stores and retailers take against showrooming? All right. So I'm going to go back to this conversation and let's go and do a couple more examples. So if you're not offering anything over and above price, then you're going to get showrooming. But if you offer something like free after-sale service, i.e., if you buy it from me, I'll always do service for your particular tech product, which is what Best Buy should be doing because they have not a Genius Bar, but they have the Geek Squad. So, yeah, I'd buy all my electronics at Best Buy that weren't Apple if I had Geek Squad part of it. But if they're going to charge that for me and then they're just shopping on price, then no. After sale service. What about financing? I may go to one retailer versus another retailer, and whether they're digital or not digital, because one's giving me 12 months 0% interest, and the other one's making me pay in full up front. I might go to one retailer versus another retailer if they do home delivery and installation as part of the price, where a digital retailer won't. So I don't like the old school retailers whining and complaining that the game has changed, and they're upset that the game has changed. In light of Pinterest going public, and they will go public sometime this year, do you think their model is sustainable? Absolutely, positively, yes. As a matter of fact, I think they have a better model than some of the other social networks out there, because their revenue doesn't necessarily rely on eyeballs and eyeballs alone. Their main revenue stream is affiliate marketing and not just eyeballs. Is reverse showing still relevant in 2019? It's exponentially more than when the time this article was published. I mean, this is the name of the game, folks. We had this conversation in a previous module of satisfaction's not enough. We need loyalty. And if we have loyalty, we have CRM, and we have a learning two-way relationship with our existing customer base. You know, Toys R Us went under because they had no relationship with their existing customers. You know, they didn't know, if you go to Amazon, if you go to eBay, if you go to Target online, if you go to Kroger online, they know who you are, and they can tailor the offerings and the deals and the products for you, giving the learning relationship that they know about you. Toys R Us couldn't do that. So they had to do incredible price promotions, which were very expensive, you lose margin, and lots of advertising, which is very expensive, and you lose margin, to get people through the door. And then even when they would do that, they were still just the same price point as Amazon, because Amazon doesn't have those costs. You know, when JCPenney's and Sears go under, they're going to go under because they don't have a relationship with an existing customer base. Because the old top-down world, stack it high, let it fly, lots and lots of advertising to shove people into the store, and once they're in there, we hope they buy other things, as opposed to just the thing that we're advertising where we're going to lose money on, that model's dead. Which is why traditional retailers are dying. And retailers that understand that thinking digital, like Kroger doesn't really have that much online sales. CVS has 0 to no online sales. But their CRM system is very, very powerful. To the point that Kroger is $1 billion more profitable because of their CRM system than if they didn't have it. Because they know which deals to offer to who and when. CVS does very, very well because they know what to offer me versus other people in the store. Consumers now are opting to examine products online through reviews and tutorials and buy things online, saving them the hassle of going to the store. Sure. How can Pinterest benefit from these types of transactions? Well, Pinterest is a digital platform. It's very much a how-to, what if, it serves the purpose of what a salesperson in the store used to do without you having to go to the store. So there is the reviews on Pinterest and the videos on Pinterest and the how-tos on Pinterest and the tutorials on Pinterest. You know, you could say that the buying experience on Pinterest is better than talking to some 17, 18-year-old in the store who are just there to make some money. Why does it matter if a consumer purchases in-store or online? It doesn't matter. And the traditional top-down retailers think it does, to the point where their online retailers is a separate company that the back-end infrastructure doesn't integrate. So if you buy something online, you can't take it back to the store and exchange it, because that's kind of a separate company. Which is where this omni-channel term came from, by the way. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But for a lot of companies, top-down world, face-to-face, that's the alpha dog, and the online thing was this little side thing. And the companies that integrate them well both do significantly better than the companies that are just one versus the other. How does Instagram contribute to reverse showrooming? Instagram does the same thing that Pinterest does. There's a buy it now button. They call it something else. But you could go like this on Pinterest, go like this, and then have the stuff shipped to you. Instagram will exacerbate this. It's not going to make retailers happy. Will brick and mortar stores become obsolete? No. Obsolete? No. No. Do I think there will be less brick and mortar stores? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We don't need as many stores as we used to. Do we still need stores? Sure. Do stores serve a purpose? Sure. Do we need the number of stores that category killers used to have in the... No. Absolutely not. No. No. All right. So here's this term omnichannel, which I already defined in the previous module. All right. I was thinking in the article, mentioning stores next to public transportation where pickup, would be easier. Like a pop-up location. One example is Lululemon, Long Branch. It's only there during the summer. Is there research that shows that this is beneficial? There is a lot of retail examples and a lot of literature about seasonal stores. I mean, look at Halloween alone. How many Halloween pop-ups do you see all the time? Every year. 2 months, that's it. Do the Long Branch customers miss Lulu's physical store when it's going to shop online? Probably. But chances are the Long Branch customers live in Short Hills where there's a Lululemon like right down the street, and they'll go to that Lululemon versus the pop-up that's in Long Branch. Or they buy online. Another example I thought of in the article mentioned are prime store locations, let's just Target, and they've done stuff with college campuses. Not Seton Hall, but yes, Target has done that. Barnes & Noble has done that. Here's an example in College Park. Does altering the store's capacity to a smaller format, they use the data, the scanner data, to decide what should be in the store that's smaller. They prioritize. Data decides what goes in and what stays in. Okay? Do you think it's smart for stores to open up more shops in suburban areas to reach more customers to get them into their stores? It's not just suburban areas. It's an area that makes sense for the brand. Let's go to Apple, for instance. Apple, because of the Genius Bar, they tend to need to be in a super high traffic location. It can't be just a suburban area. It's got to be a suburban area that fits with the brand. Okay? It's not just more shops. I think it's a retail location in the proper location for the brand, and you don't need one like a McDonald's every 2 miles. Do you think eventually everything will move to online? No. I answered that question earlier. No. I mean, if you're an LL Bean store or an REI store, you need to go to the store and you need to get trained on how to use the equipment. You ever go to Cabela's, Bass & Company? And then there's other stores. God, what's the name of the one here in town? I don't know. The store is really a workshop. My wife goes in. She goes in with 3 or 4 of her girlfriends. They book a template, and they make Lazy Susans and all this other really neat stuff. It's a crafting store. But the crafting store is more about you making it as opposed to you just buying it. How does one find the happy middle where not too many customers are shopping online? You have to provide value. We already had the value article. We did this in the branding module. Where's the value? Where's the value? Is the value in after-sales service? Repairs? Follow-up? Where's the value? Is the value in financing? If you know where the value is and you know what to offer to which customer base, then you do that depending on the modality of the store. We have to break away from modality, online versus offline, and more into a mindset of, okay, my definition of marketing is find out what people want and give it to them. Well, you have a certain customer population that need A, you have a certain population that needs B, and you have a certain population that needs C, and depending on whether they need A, B, and C is whether there should be an online modality, a hybrid modality, or just a face-to-face modality. That is the definition of omnichanneling, and that's what Warby Parker, or I'll switch glasses on you. There's my Warby Parkers, does better than most. They were born online and switched to face-to-face. Bonobos was born online and now does both. Because the modality is not the big deal. Oh, by the way, when you go into Bonobos, it's all about trying on, seeing in person, touch and feeling. There's no inventory in that store. It's a very small footprint. You pay there and it's shipped next day to your house. How can companies maintain or even cut costs without sacrificing a brick and mortar location? Well, I don't know about maintaining or cutting costs. It's more about the customer base and what they need. This question is posed too much like, okay, we need to be face-to-face online and face-to-face online only. What brands are the pioneers of omnichannel? Warby Parker, Apple, other than the ones mentioned. Bonobos, I already mentioned those. Who else? I'll think of some more as they pop up. You got Amazon now going to face-to-face stores. Why do companies care if product? They don't care. Well, the smart ones don't care. They don't care. If brick and mortar stores become extinct, they won't. Will companies suffer sales? They will. Do online promotions help users purchase more online? We've been couponing and doing promo forever face-to-face. Sure, there's Groupon, and sure, there's some other things, and sure, there's online deals you could search for. But there's always been deals. That is not influencing modality one way or the other. A deal helps with value, but usually is not the main driver of value. Okay? Article 3. Now, this is still an algorithm article. Okay, this is Michael Porter, 5 Forces Michael Porter, Mr. Competitive Advantage Michael Porter. This is the big dog. This is the godfather of strategy, literally and figuratively. The godfather of strategy, Michael Porter. Now, a smart connected product, a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, your now refrigerator that's smart, toaster oven, all the examples that were in this particular article, it's making the non-digital digital. And if the non-digital becomes digital, we have the ability to put the information into a database and hopefully build some kind of algorithm to learn behavior and see how I can make better recommendations given your behavior. That's why we have these smart connected products. They could be saving time, it could be convenience, it could be a learning relationship, but all the information goes into a database, then we use an algorithm, just like Facebook uses an algorithm and Netflix uses an algorithm, decides what kind of recommendations they should give us. By the way, the smart connected products are not just consumer products. They could be industrial products too. I'm almost positive. Wasn't there a GE aircraft engine example in this article? It's a very long article. I'm sorry about that. Implementing all the changes that I had discussed above must be extremely costly and time consuming. Perhaps. The data is worth more than the time and the cost to put it in, by the way. What would be the recommended timeline how a company should budget for these types of changes? Well, a lot of companies are putting 5%, 8%, 10% of their total profits back into R&D. Timeline immediately, because your competitors are already there. They're already using algorithms to make better recommendations for their client bases. And you need to figure out ways to get better data. What are your thoughts on what strategies make companies winners or losers in the new smart landscape? Well, it's pretty simple. There's a lot of companies that collect data and put the data in the database, and they're not intelligent about exploring questions of what that data could bring to the table. The idea is, if I have data, I should be able to make better decisions. But data analytics is a science that needs to be practiced. And there needs to be the correct goals. So many of these companies are doing this to think that it'll bring really strong short-term returns. And really the case is, you end up, it's a slow burn, you learn over time, and then you end up with a long-term sustainable competitive advantage like Amazon. It took them years, but Walmart can't make up that gap anytime soon. They don't have the data or the knowledge in them, nor will they have it in the next 4 years. And as they try to catch up, Amazon's already that much further ahead of them and getting better. Do you think competing is harder with these family of connecting products? Harder? Definitely not harder. Smarter. Because the connected products can learn from each other. The data analytics that come out of the connected products can help the company learn about the customer base to figure out, something, we put this feature in, but nobody's using it. Apple's making a really big deal that there's a fall detector now in these watches. That if you give one to grandma and grandpa, forget about the commercial, I've fallen down, I can't get up. Well, guess what? This thing does that now. And where do you think that information came from? That came from a data stream that they learned. It took them 2 years. Do you think power has shifted in favor of consumers who are dictating trends? I don't know about those that are dictating trends. I think consumers are involved in a co-creation of value kind of way. Co-creation of value, highlighting the story for next week. I'm going to leave that one there. And I want you to come back and think about this question when we start talking about co-creation of value. But consumers are not driving it all by themselves. I'll leave it at that. All right. Do you think educational institutions will recognize the new professional needs brought about by smart connected products and begin to integrate these into their programs to help ensure the alumni attractiveness in the workforce? Okay. I don't want to get too meta here. Okay. I hope you're thinking about the educational institution and the professor who assigned this module and assigned these articles to you now. You're reading this article and don't get too far ahead other than what's right in front of you right now. I want you to think about this stuff now. And yes, we have the supply chain management major, which is really all about data analytics. We're going to have a new master's program, and we're going to have more marketing management MBA electives in data analytics in the MBA program, probably starting in the fall. I just saw the prospectus and all the courses. Without question, because this is the future of business. So it behooves us not to do it. Is it smarter to go to a technology school or vocational school? It depends on what that school offers. Vocational school, you're learning about plumbing, air conditioning, mechanical, A technology school, well, maybe, maybe not. It depends what NJIT or Stevens is offering. And even a traditional four-year college might have an engineering school attached to it that is very mechanical, And by the way, this question here, we're giving you guys LinkedIn Learning for free. Pretty much every data analytics question, every Internet of Things conversation, there's at least 2 or 3 dozen videos on it in LinkedIn Learning, and it's available for free for you. I bet you should do a search. Do companies have to fully commit, abandoning their current system, and change to a cloud-based system to support smart connected product? Or is there some sort of transition period to adopt? What happens is don't get too confused about the cloud. All the cloud is a database. Okay? And it just so happens that the Amazons of the world and the Microsofts of the world and the Oracles of the world and the IBMs of the world and the HPs of the world tend to have very, 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 very large databases that are distributed, meaning they're in the cloud. most of the smart connected products do not use a database that's owned by the institution that is creating the smart connected product. Meaning Fitbit does not have its own databases in a cloud. So they need AWS, they need Azure, that's Microsoft, they need IBM, HP, I forget what HP's is called. They need Oracle, So you need a database to collect the data so we can do data analytics on the data. It just so happens that database is a distributed network that's in the cloud. What are the disadvantages of implementing complex products? Well, there is one major disadvantage. One significant and biggest, oh my God, right hook disadvantage. And that is, so what if you get a crap load of data? If you don't have the ability to make meaningful learning information and relationships out of that data, what good is the data that you're getting from a smart connected product? If you don't have the knowledge base or the skill set internally to learn from data, you have a major disadvantage. How fast are these new technologies in detecting changes in the economy driven by unpredictable events? Well, it depends on what the technology is collecting data on. I'll use a different example, a random example. But you can have a smart connected product and it's not going to detect the tornado coming because it has no sensors or capabilities for weather. But if you had a particular technology, a smart connected device, that was focused on a particular task, it's almost real time. I mean, when we have these APIs and we have this stuff, you're talking about within a minute or two, you have the data stream. And then if you have an algorithm that's constantly monitoring the data stream, metaphorically speaking, every one of you has either seen a movie or a news report and someone's on the trading floor of Wall Street. Those are milliseconds. You're talking, hundreds of trades can happen within a second. The data stream's coming in that fast, and the algorithm's programmed to arbitrage that quickly. All right, this is a fascinating article. This is brand new this year. This is a whole new area. I'm very excited you guys got a chance to read it and get into it. It's very messy, meaning not that many of the experts out there really know what to say about this yet. And all my comments about that are going to come in via your questions. Because there's a lot of interesting questions about voice search. When they say marketing in the age of Alexa, we're really talking about voice search or voice as an interface as opposed to this thing that's right in front of you. All right, questions. It was mentioned that platforms could increase trust by giving paid and unpaid recommendations equally. How can these platforms effectively sell partnerships if those companies know that their competitors will be suggested just as frequently? All right. This is an excellent question because in none of the online platforms, to the best of my knowledge, and we've been talking about this all semester in the undergraduate class, and I've been following it. This was, if you think about of the top 5 conversations of 2018 that don't involve Facebook and ethical breaches of Facebook, this is one of them, voice search and the implications of voice search. When you do a Google search, there's SEO, organic, the top 10 rankings, and there's SEM, the paid keywords, the ads that are above the right-hand side and sometimes on the bottom. Right? When it comes to voice, maybe you have a skill, and that's what Amazon calls them, skills. You have to program a skill. So if you say, Alexa, play me Grateful Dead, it happens to be one of my students that has the Grateful Dead skill in Alexa, and it will play Grateful Dead music. So that is a programmed search that's not organic the way Google search runs, because it's a program. Now, that is technically an organic result, however, not organic in the true SEO sense of Google. And Amazon is not deciding paid versus unpaid. There's no SEM yet in voice search. And when we do this kind of search, and we go to Google, we go to Bing, DuckDuckGo doesn't offer ads, really. There's more than one option being presented to you, both paid and unpaid. When it comes to voice search, there tends to be only one, if you even get a recommendation at all. What will happen to jobs in human interaction? All right. This is a big question. I'm not anti-AI. I'm not anti-robot. I'm not anti any of it. I really am not. I mean, I'm old as dirt. And being old as dirt, I was in high school and I took typewriting classes. We also had computer programming classes in DOS, which were also just as useless. However, we had typewriting classes. Now, word processors kind of existed back then, where you could literally put in 2 or 3 sentences at a time. That's all it held. It held like 100K, like a paragraph. And then you would have to output that to a paper or lose it, because it couldn't hold any more characters. So, am I sad that all that's gone and I got Microsoft Word on this computer? No. Am I sad that automated things that should be automated in the first place because a human's doing it now, but they don't need to do it anymore because it's really not a big value add job? No. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with AI replacing something that's simple enough that I don't have to do it anymore. I really don't. How can companies guarantee privacy? They're literally revealing their... Okay, they can't, because in the U.S., most companies don't care about privacy, and nor do the people that use their products. Unless the government regulates privacy laws, there won't be any privacy stuff related to AI. I fully expect that Europe and other parts of the world will lead in this area the way they're leading now. Can companies predict that this won't be a trend for a minute and die down after a few months? How can they retain it? I don't think voice is going away anytime soon. I really don't. To the point where, I really could get away with just this. This could make all my phone calls. I mean, this can do everything my phone can do except for really take pictures. So, what would be really awesome is I had this and I had like a dumb screen that if I wanted to take a picture or that I wanted to watch a real video, I could like Bluetooth off of this, and then I wouldn't have to carry this carry the big phone anymore. But it's a major trend. It's not a fad. I don't think voice is going away anytime soon. I really, really, really don't. How likely is it that the popularity of AI assistants will come to thrive? They've been here. They've been here for a while now. They've been lower level in the past. I mean, if you think about what a search engine is, if you think about what Netflix recommendations are, they are little algorithms that have learning behind it. That's basically what AI is. We're starting to see more sophisticated AI. Okay? Other than just making movie recommendations or book recommendations. How will marketers know when they need to switch up their strategies to focus more on AI-assisted platform? How will they know? Usually, if they're smart and they're market-oriented, it took me that long to get the word market-oriented, and they see where the learning relationship is with their customers and where they can be ahead of their competition, that's when you know. If your customer base You know that you can provide more value to them than you're doing now, and you could do that through some kind of an algorithm. How will platform owners ensure that they're not bought? And how can the customer trust that all the options at the table rather than just the highest paying one? This has not been decided. We are very early days with Google Voice and Siri and Alexa. To be honest with you, right now, I don't think any ads are on Alexa, to the best of my knowledge. There is no quote-unquote SEM in Alexa. But it's not really SEO organic either, because you got to be able to write the skill, and people have the ability to set a skill. Like there might be 44 different weather skills out there, but you decided that you want the default one to be the Weather Channel. But you decide who the default one should be. How can AI platform perform effectively without... We don't know. I've already kind of hit on this. We don't know. I mean, Facebook created a what's it called? A show? Facebook show? I don't know what to say. There's no track record here. There's no policies here. There's no government regulation here. It's the Wild Wild West. If a brand started to focus on marketing only with AI, will it miss revenue coming from non-AI users? Or will they simply obliged to be part of the market, be on AI? Okay. Again, we don't know how big voice is going to be. But could a smaller company who go all in on an Alexa skill for candles get ahead of the curve and beat Yankee Candle to the punch before Yankee Candle figures it out? Perhaps. How can marketers best brand their products with this future change in technology? Well, you have to learn how the platform works. Meaning, whether you use Google search or Bing, you're still in HTML, you're still in a web-based universe. Okay, but the universe, think of Alexa as a solar system, and think of Siri as a solar system, and think of Google Voice as a solar system, and they don't share planets. They don't share black holes. There's no interchange amongst the three. So you might have to build a skill for Alexa. You might have to build a product for Apple and Siri, and you may have to build a particular, whatever you want to call it, in the Google universe. Without face-to-face interaction between a buyer and a product, how can we be sure branding will even exist in the future? Well, the branding comes from the skill. And branding is not just about seeing something with your eyes. Think about how many brands have a tone. Think about the NBC chimes. Think about the Intel doo-doo-doo-doo. When you think about, when an Apple computer starts, that sound, it's part of the brand. Brand is not all visual. Do you think there will be a time branding won't matter? And yet branding will always matter. Branding will always matter. The brand just might not be visual. All right. Another new article. Oh my God, I'm throwing you a curveball. This sounds weird as shit, but guess what? This is the new world order. This is the new world order. This is legit. find some podcasts about it. She's really a great interview. I've heard her on at least 3 or 4 different podcasts. I'm really happy that there's an HBR article that's easy for me to share with you. What other industries can benefit from data science? How much time do we have today? In that CRM world, in that CRM mentality, in the ability to have a learning relationship with my existing customer base, my crowd, that's where data science comes in. It helps when there's a lot and frequent transactions, such as retail, such as a lot of B2C products. But think about healthcare. Oh my God, you know what healthcare could be? Healthcare could be so much better. So much better. So much better. Are there any negatives to data science? Well, it's very expensive. It's not quick. It takes a long term for these algorithms and the databases and for the interpretation and for the testing. I mean, in Stitch Fix, and I actually heard a couple people on podcasts talk about this, it usually takes between, it's 3 to 5 to 7 interactions. Box, ship back, box, ship back, box, ship back. The back and forth before the algorithm really has you well. The algorithm and or the stylist. I think that's one of the most brilliant things about Stitch Fix. It's not pure algorithm. Does it always have to be associated with another factor such as human activity in order to be successful? No, I think the human activity really makes it that much stronger. I really, really, really do. Because sometimes if it's just algorithm, stupid things could happen. Like ethnicity. The camera was programmed by white men. And white men look a certain way. And then the AI cannot detect facial expressions or various other activities because the modeling data that they had were all light Northern European descendant individuals. So all AI, not good, not optimal. How does Stitch Fix count on their customers to be honest when sending and receiving back the clothing? Well, if you don't send the clothing back, you bought it. You kept it. You pay for it. If you don't want to pay for it, you put it in the box and you send it back. It's that simple. How does Stitch Fix account for all the variables through data science? It's not all the variables. It's a lot of variables that they've learned over time. I mean, when she started this, she's not actually a data scientist. She's more of the human interpreter of the data. She started Stitch Fix in Excel and eyeballing the algorithm. It wasn't a pure algorithm. She started literally by buying inventory and sending boxes out and learning through that and keeping track of everything in an Excel spreadsheet. And what's an Excel spreadsheet? A very basic database. And then she started hiring, once she got a lot more venture funding, she started hiring big-time PhD and data scientists. And then those individuals got all over the data because she collected data on all of it. I mean, Stitch Fix is very, very good. Very sharp. In the world today, why aren't we focused on having data scientists in every industry because of the importance that they bring? Well, good luck finding them. Wall Street takes half of them. We're not training enough of them. Data scientists are getting paid right now. Whoa. How are we not losing sight of personal interactions? This article stated, we are failable. How did they find the happy medium between the data and the human? Well, they've learned. They've shipped 100,000 boxes. That's a good set of data. In the personal interactions, it may not be a face-to-face interaction, but there could be dialogue, digital dialogue, going back and forth between the stylist, I mean, you have the ability to go into your account and make notes and comments, and the stylist has the ability to send you messages and ask you questions. So just because it's not a personal interaction doesn't mean they're not interactions. I mean, heck, we haven't met face to face yet, right? We've been YouTubing it. I mean, not to get on too much of a tangent, but yes, this is a fully online class. And yes, face-to-face classes are very good. And yes, I've taught this class a number of times face-to-face. But just because this class isn't face-to-face doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And I'm sure you've had face-to-face classes that are not as strong as this class. In this class, we haven't met face-to-face yet. So, don't get hung up by the modality. Regarding Stitch Fix in-house clothing brand, Hybrid Designs, to what degree can the brand personalize its item to meet the individual needs of customers while still remaining profitable? This is an easy question. Okay, so let's say Stitch Fix has shipped out 100,000 boxes, and they have that much data. And they know the top 10 things that people keep. Jeans, this kind of a golf shirt, this kind of a blouse, this kind of a black dress, this kind of a something like that. They know, the data tells them what are the most popular categories. Well, if Stitch Fix buys from Black and White, they have to pay a certain cost, and Black and White's got to make their margin. But if Stitch Fix goes out and does private label and creates their own brand and then puts their own brand on the box, it's that much more margin that they're taking, that they're not giving that margin away to Black and White. See? I mean, every grocery store in America does this. Every drugstore in America does this. And you got the head cold, and you're in the aisle of CVS. Am I buying the Tylenol, or I'm buying the one that's $15 cheaper right next to it? I know it's the same thing, but I don't feel good. Oh my God, am I going to pay $15 more for Tylenol? Da, 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 da. Macy's does this. Half of the brands in Macy's are their own private label that you can't get anywhere else. And how do they know what to offer? Well, they know the most popular lines that go through Macy's, so then they create a private label brand for that particular category. I bet you at least a third, if not 40% of the stuff that goes through Macy's doors in a bag is a Macy's brand. If more brands adopt the Stitch Fix model, and they will the joys of retail therapy become obsolete? Well, your assumption is retail therapy means you have to do it in person. That's the assumption. You can treat yourself, or you can browse. Every one of you that's watching me right now have done this and lost track of yourself in your feed of Instagram. That's not therapy? That's not distracting yourself? Can companies become too reliant on data algorithms? No. Is there something too much data? There could be, if you don't have the ability to make any sense of the data. If the algorithm fails, oh, by the way, it fails all the time. The idea is to keep the algorithm learning. The algorithm's never going to be perfect. You're always tweaking it. And the customer isn't happy with their stylist. How can they ensure this doesn't happen again? Is it possible to have several different algorithms? It's not several different algorithms. It's one algorithm with multiple betas. And depending how someone reacts, you change the weights on the betas. For instance, the first box is probably a very generic algorithm. You know, in order to get your first box, you have to check and you have to do a little survey, like, you know, a personality thing. Like, you can't go to a dating app without doing a little setup and answering a dozen or two questions to know how the dating algorithm can help you out or not. But it doesn't stop there. You prime the pump, you answer 24 questions, and then you get a box. Based on what you like or don't like in the box, the weights in the algorithm changes for you. And the algorithm is only for you. Only for you. Do you think marketers will require more skills in data science? Absolutely, positively, yes. Is marketing integrated with data analytics? Yeah. I mean, the entire ad tech industry, which, you know, the epicenter of ad tech is New York City. Excuse me. And you don't get ad tech without analytics. And analytics means there's an algorithm that supplies the data. Okay? I hope we got something out of this module. This module, for many of us, was an introduction to some of this stuff. But just remember that this builds off of the SAT Loyalty CRM. The CRM database is better if there's an algorithm that can do recommendations off of the data in the CRM database. Right? All right. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. Please send me questions. Have a good day.